Hey, we're back. This time we're looking at Tao Long, The Way of the Dragon from Thundergriff Games. Kickstarted this one a while ago because I like the artwork and the style of it. It's a very Asian-themed game, I guess is the way to put it. Reminds me a lot of Tsuro in the art style. But I got the Kickstarter Deluxe Edition and came with a few extra things, and I also bought some extra stuff on the side, which I'll go over at the end here, but we'll get right in and take a look. So first off, it comes with this sleeve here. A lot of games do nowadays. I don't know if I'm going to keep it. It does have the cool stuff on the back, but it's more for shelf presence. The actual Deluxe Edition box here is red and has this cool magnetic clasp on the side. And holds everything in here. And even holds some of the extras in here. I am going to change up what's in mine because the playboard that came with the Deluxe Edition I don't much care for myself. But first thing we have here is the rulebook. I don't know why people insist on making the rulebook the exact dimensions of the box, but that seems to be the norm these days. So inside we have a little bit of background story, introduction to the game. And there you can see the map and the pieces. In the Deluxe Edition, the pieces are wood. In the standard version of the game, they are cardboard. So keep that in mind. I think the box is slightly different on the standard edition too, but pretty good explanation of pretty much everything. I've only had one or two questions that weren't covered in here, and even one of those was in here, I just missed it. And the idea basically is that you're controlling one of these dragons and you're trying to destroy the other one. In the back here there's a couple different game modes, and there's even a single player version, which is pretty cool. I'm all about solo plays. There's a few different scenarios with how the board starts set up. There's the solo variant. And then on the back you have a nice cheat sheet to remind you of what everything is. It looks a lot more complicated than it really is in play. So next it's kind of unrolled a little bit here. This was part of the Deluxe Edition, is that instead of the normal board, you get this really cool, it's a neoprene mat, kind of like a mouse pad. It's got the artwork on the back. It doesn't come out too well in the glare of the light. There's mountains and things in the background of the two dragons. So on this side you have your game board. This is where you're going to be moving your pieces and your scenarios will be set up. And the other side, I want to say it's Bagua, but I'm probably mispronouncing it. And this is where you're going to be moving the tokens in order to move your dragon and make your attacks. And really neat is that each, off the side of each, shows you what you can do based on where your stones land. And then you have your meters here for your fire and water, which are your health and your stored up power. The mat is really neat and it works well with the wooden boards. However, I don't like the way it fits in the box for storage. It does fit in there, it actually comes in there. And it's nice, but I also bought the standard cardboard board, which I think I'm going to be using more. The colors are also brighter on it, I think. They did reprint these at one point because they were very dull, and these do look better than those by far, but I still like the sound of the wooden pieces on the standard board. Just makes it feel more immersive to me. And then at the bottom of the box here, there's a big mess. And one of the expansions did come with a bag to put all the tokens in, which I probably will be using. Just, I haven't mixed everything up yet because of the wanting to do the video here. So in here we have our stones for the Bagua board. And I'm sure I'm still saying that wrong, but and then you can see the fire and water stones in there as well. Those are all wood tokens. And here's a bunch of different tokens. These are our scenario pieces mostly in here. There you have the village and mountains or valley, and this is going to be pretty much the centerpiece on a lot of your scenarios. It goes right in the middle of the board. Things much bigger tiles than I thought. They're also thicker for certain tiles, like the centerpieces here and the stones and mountains for the actual game come in a thicker material than the standard pieces, so you can easily identify them. It also makes the board have a little bit of a 3D look to it, which is kind of neat. Next we have our portal tiles, and these allow you to travel instantaneously from one to the other on the board. When you go ahead and throw them, they actually flip over so you can see that you're sticking out of them. And they're used in various scenarios, again, so you can move around. It can let you get behind the other dragon and things like that. Then we also have our ranged marker. One side is for fire, one side is for water, and depending on the range you are from the target is the amount of damage it will do. So next we have our flux coin. This is the one that comes with the base game. It's wooden like everything else in this deluxe edition. In the standard edition it's cardboard. And this tells you the order of direction of play on the Bagua board. Depending on which way this is going, you're either going to go clockwise or counterclockwise, and this changes throughout the course of the game. In the Kickstarter edition, we got a metal coin. It's much bigger than I thought it was going to be. It's bigger than like a $50 type. So we have our player tokens, the dragons, and this is what you're going to be controlling throughout the course of the game. And as you make your maneuvers, you take the final piece of the dragon. They're double-sided, and you can flip it over so it continues the way that you move throughout the course of the game. And the black dragon here represents chaos or earth. And as you take damage throughout the course of the game, you're going to lose segments to your dragon, and eventually you'll die. And the other player controls the white dragon of heaven. The heaven dragon always goes first, so keep that in mind when you're picking your colors at the beginning, however you choose to do it. So the Kickstarter version also came with this little add-on expansion, whatever you want to call it. It's one of the stretch goals. It's the Tiger and the Phoenix, and it's a alternate game mode basically, where the Earth Dragon is replaced with the Tiger, and you have the Tiger here, which is 1 unit smaller than the regular dragons, and then the Phoenix. And I haven't actually played this one, but from my understanding is as you damage the Tiger, eventually he dies, the Phoenix shows up. The Tiger can only use water, the Phoenix can only use fire, and you have to defeat both of them in order to win. Kind of a neat little alternative to the base game. Again, I might be wrong on a little bit of that because I have not actually played that one yet. And again, the Kickstarter edition also came with the Pink Fluffy Bunny expansion, which some people were kind of, I don't know, they had a fit about because it didn't really fit thematically, but I think it's hysterical. And this one replaces one of the dragons in the game, and he basically, instead of being a whole dragon, is just a single bunny, and he gets 2 turns basically every time it's his turn. When he dies, you flip him over, and he gets a number of turns equal to whatever damage they overkilled him by. So if you do extra points of damage above and beyond what it would take to kill him, he gets extra turns, and of course those are doubled, so basically he gets 2 times that amount, and has a chance to finish you off as well. It's kind of an interesting, fun little thing to add in there. More variety, adds a couple extra modes to the game, which is cool. And that's it for our box. They have some cool artwork in the bottom showing the 2 dragons battling it out. I do like the magnetic clasp on the box, as I said. It's got the designers on the back here. Doesn't have the fancy pictures with all the stuff about the game on here if you take the insert off, but I think the box looks nice and clean. It's got that foil lettering, which I may just keep this. I don't think I'm going to keep the sleeve. And that's a look at everything that comes in this deluxe version of the game. If you buy the standard version, your pieces are going to be in cardboard, not wood, and your map's going to be a folding board instead of the mat here, as well as the box being a little bit different color. I think it was black. Not sure on that though. And then these three items down here, the metal coin, you get the standard coin instead, and then the Tiger and Phoenix and Pink Bunny do not come with the standard edition of the game. Overall though, it's an interesting strategic game. There's a lot of depth to it really. The way you move is by taking these stones and you're going to move them in the number there are in the stack. So there's 2 here, you're going to put 1 there, 2 here. Now there's 3 in this stack when you go to move that one. And whatever the last one you end up on is the action that you're going to take. And as these, as I pointed out before on the map here, they show you what you can do with each action. Certain ones move horizontally, certain ones move vertically, certain ones allow you to turn to face a certain direction, but you can't move if you're facing a various direction, and so on. So it's a lot of strategy involved in here, and where you move and what stones you move to make your dragon perform the actions you want. Lots of variety, several scenarios in the book, as well as the extra ones here. And you can always make your own too by rearranging the tokens on the board. You have the rocks and things that you can run into and damage yourself. There's even a scenario where you can destroy them. It's one of the cave, I think it is. You have the portals, which you can move around in. And just lots of variety in the core game itself. And it's a very interesting if you're into the theme and into this style of strategy, abstract type game. There's a lot of fun to be had here. As I was talking about with the extras, I did get the standard board. This is the board that comes with the standard edition instead of the neoprene mat. And the colors aren't too bad. I don't know if you can't really see it on camera. Actually, the mouse pad looks better on camera. But the board itself, I just like the sound of the wooden tiles on here. They don't seem to slide on this as much. On here, they tend to slide if you bump the table too. So, but I do like the board. I think it fits in the box better. This rolls up, takes a lot of space up. So, probably going to stick with the board and just keep the mouse pad as kind of a decorative thing on the side. But it has your standard playing board on one side, and of course you still get the artwork on the back. Still doesn't want to come out on camera, those mountains. The red on red, I think it is, just doesn't want to come out. But I suggest that as an upgrade to anybody who buys the deluxe edition, just in case you don't like the mouse pad. It's nice to have both. You can squeeze both into the box, but it's a pretty tight fit, so I'm going to stick with one over the other. Also, as an additional extra, you can get the 4-player expansion, which comes with 2 more dragons. You get your 4-player rulebook here. Unfortunately, it is a co-op. Well, not unfortunately. I guess it can be a good thing. But the base idea of it is that it's a co-op 2 versus 2 team play, which fits the theme because you have the light and the dark, the yin and the yang, and so on. So your 2 new dragons are also another white and a black. You can see there. And it's thematic to the game, but it feels like a kind of a lost opportunity. I wish they had made them in separate colors. You could still play the teams, but you could also do the 4-player free-for-all, which is what I originally thought the 4-player expansion was going to be. That would be complete chaos the way the game runs. This one requires a lot of teamwork and strategy because you run the risk of getting in each other's way and hitting your own teammates and things like that while you're trying to attack the opposing dragon. If you have the players to do it, it is a neat little expansion. Just not exactly what I was expecting when I had picked it up. Still cool though. And then the final expansion add-on that I got was the Seasons pack, and it comes in this cool bag, which I'm going to use to store all my tokens in, I think. And hopefully they'll all fit, but should work for that. I think that's what the intention was. And in there, of course, you get another rule book. This one for the 4 seasons. And they're represented by these tiles here. As the turns progress, the seasons will rotate. And depending on the current season, there are different effects in play. It's kind of an interesting twist. Adds, again, more variety to the game. And the season tiles are actually ginormous. They're the same size as the corner tiles, but they have the active season on one side. And it states the bonuses that apply at the bottom. And again, it's just another scenario type thing, more variety to the game, adds more replayability, which is why I picked up all those extras. As I said, overall, I think it's a fun game. It takes the right people to play. It is a little complex to learn the strategy and moving the pieces around the Bagua board here, which I'm probably still saying wrong. And the maneuvering takes some getting used to on what you can do by where you are on the board. You have to keep in mind if you can move horizontally or vertically, or when you need to turn, and then you need to plan ahead over here. Well, if I move these around, that's going to drop me off on this. And at the start, they all start with equal piles, but later on in the game, you start getting some larger piles, and you really have to think about where you're going to land, what that's going to trigger, and how things are going to happen. You also need to keep in mind the current flux. I don't know if you can see it better on there, whether the board is going clockwise or counterclockwise, and that's which way you're going to rotate the pieces on the board over here. So that could, when this changes, that's an advanced rule. It's not in the base game. I keep mentioning it, but when you're using that, it can completely change what you're going to do by the way that the board is going. So you have to keep that in mind as well. Lots of strategy elements to the game. I really like that aspect of it. It's very thematic. The artwork is great. I like the way it plays like a true strategy game where you're trying to outwit the other player, the other dragon, to take him out. And it's just a great theme and overall an interesting game if you have the right people who can take the time to learn all the little nuances and strategies that are involved. Just a couple of things I wanted to add as a side note. The stones that they have here are pretty tiny, and depending on your fingers, I got pretty chunky sausages there. They can be hard to pick up and move around. That's one thing to keep in mind, and they're round so they roll when you do that. But that's probably my only real complaint about the game. I just wanted to make a mention that there is that aspect of the game you need to keep in mind when playing. Also, I did start putting my tiles in this actual bag, and maybe it's just because it's new, but the drawstring really doesn't stay. And I'm afraid in moving around, everything's going to dump out of it in the box, so we're going to have to see how well that works. But yeah, it doesn't really stay. I don't know if it's because it's kind of stiff and starchy. Maybe after it's been used a few times, that'll soften up, but that is something to keep in mind. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up for our look at Tao Long, The Way of the Dragon. Thanks for checking out the video, and we'll see you in the next one.